Let's talk about the XFL's Orlando Guardians. Who are they? Well, the XFL 3.0 Guardians are the second iteration of the XFL in Orlando. The previous Orlando team, The Rage, forever known from this viral clip that still lives on 2 decades later.
Jeff Brom, how in the world are you starting this game tonight after taking that hit just 6 days ago?
Well, let me answer that question by asking you 2 questions. One, is this or is this not the XFL? Yes, it is. 2, do I or do I not currently have a pulse? Yes, I do. Let's play football.
The new Orlando XFL team is the Guardians. That was the same name as the XFL 2.0 team in New York. Terrell Buckley, the head coach, 14 years in the NFL. He was a longtime assistant in college as well. He's set to head up the Guardians, who have some players with local appeal in the Florida area. That's what we're going to talk about with Alex Walker. He's a sports reporter for the ABC affiliate in Orlando. The Guardians also opening training camp with NFL and alt football vet Dontez Bird, who's heading to his 6th stop in pro football. Bird joins me in this episode ahead of the XFL's training camp in Arlington. You can also check out Dontez Bird's whole story in another video right here on my channel. Let's get it started with Alex Walker and Dontez Bird. We're going to find out who are the Orlando Guardians. Let's bring in Alex Walker of WFTV, the ABC affiliate in Orlando. And Alex, I know you've had an opportunity to kind of interact and see the Orlando Guardians building from the ground up down there. What's kind of been the local reaction? I know Orlando has been through its share of pro football teams down there.
It's an exciting time in Central Florida. This is Orlando's Central Florida community that has had the XFL before. And when the XFL was here in its first run, if you will, they packed the stadium. They had one of the highest attendance numbers in the league. And this is they play at Camping World Stadium, which is where they have the bowl games, the Citrus Bowl, the Cheez-It Bowl. And so it's a great stadium with a great fan base that, as you know, does not have an NFL team. Tampa's about an hour 45 down the road. So you have your Buccaneers fans, your Jags fans, your handful of Dolphins fans. But I bet that when the season starts February 18th, 2023, they're going to pack Camping World Stadium. So the reaction's been great. They're excited to have the Guardians here in town, and they're excited to have a head coach in Terrell Buckley, who's lived here before, and he has called Florida home for a long time. So they're excited about that as well.
You got to interview Buckley. Tell me about your impressions of him and maybe some of the things that he's been doing out in the community. I'm sure they've all been making. It looks like a lot of the head coaches made the media rounds all through the different markets.
Yeah, Terrell Buckley has been making the media rounds. He's been hopping around and getting his name out there because, as you know, the XFL, it's an uphill battle to keep this league where they want it to be. But I think this time around they have what it takes to have staying power. And Terrell Buckley's been making his rounds, and this is a guy that he said when he was hired that he was going to be maybe an XFL head coach. He said, look, if I'm going to do this, I want to be the man that gets the Florida team. I don't care about the other. I want to be in Florida. And so when they announced that Orlando was going to be a city, Terrell Buckley was that guy. And if you look at his coaching staff, he's got the entire state covered. Lamar Thomas is one of his coaches, legend from the U. And a lot of his defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator as assistants, a lot of them have the entire state covered. He said over 180 years of collegiate, high school, professional experience he has on his staff. And if you look at the roster they have as well, the makeup of their roster, they've got guys from Miami, guys from Florida State, guys from UCF, guys from USF. And so he wanted to construct a roster and a staff that appeals to the fan base here. Like when you go to buy a ticket, you're not just going to buy a ticket to see Orlando's team. You're going, oh, they go and say, oh, I'll go see him play and also support the Guardians. And so they've done everything right so far. And I think, that's such a way to do it, because when some of these other leagues where you play all your games in a certain city, and it's
like
hard
the USFL in Birmingham,
like the USFL in Birmingham is exactly right. Because I don't understand how from a when you're trying to grow that sport, that league, one of the best parts about sports is the fan bases, and so you got to build the fan bases in the cities, and so this league is going to be out of Arlington, but they're going to be playing their games at their sites in their cities. You're going to have tailgates. You're going to have build up to the games. You're going to have people at the games and going out to the bars and restaurants wearing the merchandise. And I think that's a big component of all of this is you got to get that community market buy-in to have a successful league. And I think that's where the XFL is so far doing things the right way.
Yeah, that I was talking about this recently. I thought that it feels like the XFL is really trying to build a football league in a traditional sense versus what the USFL did, which was really a TV show. They turned Birmingham into a TV studio, and it was just an on-air product. It feels like with what the XFL is doing, like you mentioned, they get out in the community and they're trying to build the fan base in each city and also nationwide.
Yeah, because you got to realize, you're not going to get the ticket sales and the viewing audience if you don't have that buy-in. Because, I can't even the USFL and they're back again, but it's one of those things where if you told me right now list 3 teams in the USFL, I'm just not sure. But I think a lot of people, when they saw the XFL release and they saw that they're going to be in the cities, that gets people excited because the season starts the week after the Super Bowl, so there's not going to be any foot off the gas when it comes to a fan perspective. You watch the Super Bowl the next week, you're going, okay, Orlando Guardians hosting let's say the San Antonio Brahmas. It's awesome because you got the San Antonio folks flying in and having a weekend in Orlando to watch the Guardians play, or the Guardians go out to Las Vegas to watch the Vipers play. And so you're going to also have that, I think, where, when the season's over, fan bases are still going to want destination trips. They're going to go to support their team or just go see a game, period. And when you can fly to the actual place and see the gear and see the new colors, that buy-in is so essential. And it's the vision The Rock has had. He's obviously one of the main guys as a part of this new look XFL. And I think he's doing that the right way, because you got to have people in the seats to have a successful league. You got to have people watching the games for it to be successful. That's where it all starts from a money point of view.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good point. Are you starting to see, I know we're a little bit away here from kickoff, but are you starting to see some Orlando Guardians gear running around down there?
It's starting to pop up.
Yeah.
One of the funny things, I will say this, and when we had Buckley in, I had to ask him, I said, hey, so UCF, which is the main university here in Orlando, is black and gold. They're the Knights. Their main rival is USF in Tampa. And when USF played UCF in the war on I-4, USF's jerseys were like fluorescent green and forest green, which looks exactly like the jerseys that the Guardians have. And I was like, whoa. Like, so you're just going to all the UCF fans were like, what? Why'd they choose these colors? Like, why'd you choose USF's colors? But it's like, whoa. They want it to be, represent the vibrancy of Central Florida and Orlando. And so I get it from that point of view. But I have seen gear pop up so far. They had a town hall type event where Buckley got to interact with fans, and they had some gear giveaways, and they had activated the XFL merchandise site. And so, yeah, I think what's great too, and they realized that, hey, let's release these jerseys and T-shirts and all that stuff before Christmas.
Makes sense.
It'd be a good stocking stuffer and a good gift for fans. Because, like I mentioned, when they had the rage, back here, the XFL before, I've actually seen more old XFL gear of people going, let's reignite, how fun it was the last time around, and it's our chance to get the dust off the old, the former Orlando franchise and get it rolling again.
Yeah, the Orlando Rage, man, they had like the greatest mascot, the logo. It was good, and of course,
it was incredible.
Jeff Brom could have been the XFL MVP until he got beheaded in a game and had to
exactly. And we all remember his post game interview afterwards where he still wanted to play and he's ready to rock and roll. So that's a name that people love around here, Jeff Brom.
Yeah, that's funny that you're starting to see Orlando Rage gear pop up. Alex, you talked about this is an opportunity not just for football players, but it sounds like it's an opportunity for a lot of those guys with local connections. And you're right, you hit on a point there about that builds the fan base because they will come out to watch it. Who are some of the you touched on there a few of maybe some of the players that are going to use this opportunity that we thought we would see in the NFL at least, and now they're going to be in the XFL, who have those local connections.
And that's one thing about the XFL. When you looked at when they announced the talent pool, you saw a lot of names that and some of these leagues that's not the case. You might recognize a name or two, but I'm going through the list of the quarterbacks and the wide receivers. Like, those are some names that if they play well in the XFL, they're going to get a shot at a training camp here. And that's where they're going to play their games here, Camping World Stadium. So it's kind of a full circle moment for a guy in DeAndre who, for fans of the ACC, they know that name. They know what he can do. He had some bumps in the road, ended up transferring to Hampton, and then kind of has been hopping around, little independent leagues. But Terrell Buckley said this guy came into camp, great shape. His velocity is up. He said 9 to 10 miles per hour, and he looks the part of a guy that can come in right away and be an explosive playmaker. And one of the guys that he's going to be connected with a lot is Charleston Rambo, who is a guy from the University of Miami who has popped around. He's had a couple shots in the NFL, and explosive playmaker that can hurt defenses. And so when you have names like that, and DeAndre, by the way, is from Orlando. He went to Olympia High School, which is one of the high schools right here in Orlando. And so when it comes to selling tickets, when they announced that DeAndre Francois was going to be one of the quarterbacks here, people lost their mind. Like, oh, I remember that name. I can't wait to see him play.
Right.
And one of the other quarterback is Quentin Dormady from Central Michigan, who, if you ever watch Maction, like he was one of the best offensive players that, you'd watch on a Tuesday, Wednesday night. And so they did a great job of getting guys from the state, but also going out there and grabbing names that are impact guys that, look, and this isn't a league that you're going to be watching on these outlier networks. I mean, this is going to be ABC and ESPN. We're going to put this product in your face. And if it's high quality players and high quality coaches and names, Buckley, Hines Ward, the list goes on and on.
Yep.
I think that alone, when you have that sort of television audience, that's how you get a league to stay around for a little bit.
Yeah, I think they're really setting themselves up for success in a lot of different ways. There's certainly, even before kickoff, you see promos on Monday Night Football for the XFL. You see, they make stops at Sports Center. They're really trying to reach that wider audience and build this up into a true traditional football league. It's an opportunity, obviously, for those guys, an opportunity for you to cover something after basketball season ends. That's, in the TV business, it's like once college basketball kind of wraps up, it's a slow time, but really won't be for you there. You'll be about a month into the XFL, right?
Yeah, which is nice because, that's I'm just so used to that time of year. It starts to slow down a little bit.
Right.
Here in Orlando, it's like, okay, you got the XFL and you got Daytona week, which people get all excited about down here. And, usually at that point, the Orlando Magic are so bad that no one's caring anymore. But this year, they're actually pretty competitive. So maybe that time of year, it'll be that nice extra dose of content we need. And I think I don't know what the league's going to do. I don't know what it's going to look like a year from now, but I do know this. There's enough excitement at the forefront that I think it has a chance, which is all you can ask for, and credit, The Rock and, all those guys for putting a bunch of money behind it. There's some hedge funds behind this as well, investment groups that are like pushing money like, hey, because I think I really do, John, think there's an audience for it. I mean,
absolutely.
People, if you're saying it's the second week of March and you can watch some high quality professional football on ABC on a Saturday or Sunday, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
If it's good quality and the production value is strong, yeah. Because at that point, you got your college basketball and your NBA, PGA Tour starting around. But hey, so I'm excited to see what the league's all about.
Yep. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing your work and your coverage of the Orlando Guardians down there. His name is Alex Walker. He works for WFTV. You can follow him at Alex Walker TV on Twitter and other places. Alex, appreciate your time and looking forward to all the coverage coming up.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me on.
All right. The XFL kicking off February 18th, and we bring in Orlando Guardian now. Dantes Bird, drafted in the 6th round by the Guardians. Dantes, first, appreciate you joining me, and tell me about where you were when you found out or you heard that you were drafted by the Guardians.
So yeah, when I found out that I was drafted, I was actually in the gym, just going about my regular day. I had 2 clients that I was personal training at the time, and I was kind of following the draft. And when I was at home, and then as I headed to the gym, I kind of exit out of it. It was going pretty slow, and then I was just going about my day training my clients. And then I got the text message, and then a lot of people just told me congrats, and I just knew that it was official.
Now, you had some workouts previous to the draft with a couple teams, including Orlando, who looked at you. Tell me how how those went, and not a surprise that you were at the gym. The last time I caught up with you before the draft, you were at the gym working out. But tell me about the workouts that you had there.
So yeah, it's been a journey. People don't realize that with this XFL and all the private workouts that I attended and that I went through, those are all out of pocket. So it's kind of like a big time sacrifice. And at the end of the day, you get in what you put out. So it's all an investment. I had I think 5 workouts total. The first one started back in July when I went to the big showcase in Maryland. From Maryland, I later went to the showcase in Orlando. In Atlanta with the Orlando team. And from that showcase, I received interest from the DC team at that showcase. So I later attended their showcase in Nashville. And then after their showcase, I received more attention from the St. Louis team. So I went to Tampa to that showcase. And then I finally wrapped it up with the Orlando. They had a pre-draft visit and workout in Orlando. I think it was about 3 or 4 days before the draft, and it went pretty well. So that was a good thing going into the draft. I had a good feeling going into the draft that I left everything all on the table and that someone was going to get me.
Well, there's no doubt about that. And I know two things worked into your favor going with the Orlando Guardians. Number one, you already have XFL experience. You had a lot of stuff to put on tape there. You played for Seattle before the XFL 2020 was shut down by COVID. And then your head coach, Terrell Buckley, somebody that you kind of know, right?
Yeah. Head coach Terrell Buckley, me and him had a good relationship at University of Louisville when he was there. And then me and Coach Thomas, we had a more better, however I can put it, a better relationship because he was my actual receiver coach at Louisville. So I always seen Coach Thomas, and then I went against Terrell Buckley when, with the DBs and stuff like that. But I definitely appreciate the opportunity that both of the coaches are giving me, and I'm very excited about it.
The XFL kicks off in February. What is your schedule right now leading up to that kickoff? Obviously, it's going to be workouts here. What's kind of your schedule now as you get ready for kickoff?
Oh, so basically every day I've just been training, taking care of my body. We have team workouts that we do through an app that I've been following that on at the gym. And then also last weekend we had a throwing camp up in Orlando. The quarterbacks and receivers and tight ends got together for the weekend and just, went over basic stuff of the offense and threw routes and kind of got to go know each other and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. So going into 2 weeks before training camp, I head out January 6th. So once I head out, I'll be in training camp for about 5 weeks before the first game.
So you've gotten to maybe interact a little bit with some of your teammates. What has that been like for you as you kind of get to know yet another team here?
At the professional level, you run into familiar faces a lot. It's kind of like a family reunion sometimes. You see guys that you didn't think that you would be playing with or that you played against in the past, and everyone just comes together and then you end up on the same team as them. So when I went there, a lot of guys have known me through social media or just following my career and stuff like that, and I knew of them as well. So when we met in person, it was an instant connection, and from there we just got closer and closer. So it's a great feeling going into camp. I know not all teams do this. I think our team has been the only team to do this. So that's kind of an advantage going into training camp. Some guys won't meet their teammates until they go to training camp, which that's been me in the past. And This time around, it feels a lot more official and a lot better going into training camp. Just prepared and knowing my teammates ahead of time.
Yeah, Dantes, that's interesting because, you talked about being able to interact not just with your new team, but seeing other people, kind of like you said, a family reunion, because this is your 6th stop in professional football. You've had 2 or 3 here opportunities wiped out by COVID. I mean, just bad timing. But have you been able to interact and talk to some people who have that you've played with or played against, maybe in the other iterations of XFL?
Yeah, I talked with a lot of guys, and when I was at the private workouts, I ran into a lot of guys who I didn't know that was trying to play in the XFL, and that I didn't know that was going to be in this XFL round. And at the end of the day, everyone is just chasing the dream and still staying at it. And, you know, it seems like a lot of people get picked for XFL draft and USFL drafts and stuff like that, but it's not as many as people think. I know it was over thousands of people in the XFL draft, and they only took about 500. So that leaves a lot of people, you know, looking for a next step. And I was just very fortunate and blessed to be one of the guys drafted this time around. I'm usually used to going in the last week of the training camp and trying to fight to make the team. But this time around, going in first day, you know, very prepared. And I think this is a perfect opportunity for me from the start.
I think it is too. That's great. You finally got to hear your name in a draft, and you get to go in there and start early and know that you will obviously be fighting for a job, but you got a lot of opportunity and a lot of talent, right? And this is again, we talked about it. Your sixth stop, and you are still getting after the dream. And I remember what you told me about. You know, people might ask you why, but we'll ask you again. Why do you continue chasing this dream?
Man, so dig deeper into that. You know, outside of my family, I also have kids, a younger generation, looking at me, and they can relate to me and my journey more than they can, you know, relate to the Power Five guy who was a 5-star and, you know, went to college on full scholarship and knew that they was going to get drafted, to someone like me who, you know, is barely had an opportunity in high school and went to University of Louisville as a walk-on, and, you know, earned a scholarship at University of Louisville through special teams and stuff like that, which that would be a lot of people's journey. Not everyone would be going to college on a scholarship, and also just transferring down to Tennessee Tech, you know, humbling myself and really finding my why. Why am I doing this, and what do I really want out of this football lifestyle and stuff like that. So I think a lot of guys around me can relate to me, and I relate to the kids as well. That's what made me start doing 7-on-7 stuff back home in my free time, because I just feel like I can relate to a lot of the kids, and a lot of the kids will end up like me, that have that, you know, that toughness and stuff like that. They will end up like me, but a lot of their journeys and careers is just where I was at when I was coming out of high school. So I feel like they motivate me, and, you know, I motivate them and stuff like that. So I just got a lot of people that I can't let down, and also I have a daughter and a family that supports me as well. So it's a lot that goes into it.
No question. You are an inspiration, and I think a lot of people can look up to you and say, like, you know, this guy has been getting after it, and he is still going after that dream and working hard for it, not just chasing it. You're working hard for it.
Yes, sir.
Dantes Bird, you kick off the XFL on February 18th. We are looking very forward to keeping track of you down there with the Orlando Guardians. Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
sir. I can't wait. Yes, sir.